Hello and welcome back to the Making It podcast for episode 6. I can't believe it's been 6 weeks already since we started the podcast, and I've got an admission to make before I introduce you properly, Dan, for this episode. So this is actually the second recording of episode 6. You can call it episode 6.1 in a way. Basically, we recorded last night. We made a really good episode. Don't worry, we're not going to keep any secrets from you from yesterday. And there was a power cut where I am. I mean, at 1:30 in the morning, I was up downloading it and getting it all ready, and the power went out. So that was a bit rubbish. Unfortunately, we lost the download with that. But we're back. We're recording it the day after. So I don't know what. I think it's Monday morning for you, Dan, right?
Monday morning, and yeah, it's all part of the journey. You know, everything happens for a reason. We're going to record, and you lot are going to have an episode just like you would have had anyway. So we're going to crack on.
Yes, we are, and you know, I have a feeling that this is going to be even better.
Of course, it will be. Of course, it will be.
Yeah. Now we've had that. I'm going to be honest. I was crying. I was just like, no, I can't believe this happened. But anyway. This week has been a big week. It's been an exciting week. I think, as we kind of touched on yesterday, it's been a bit of a sort of difficult week in some ways. But Dan, I want to start off by asking you about something that you do a lot of, and it is football coaching. Now, you spoke to me in the week and you dropped me a text and you said you thought it went really well. Obviously, you know, we did a little stint at coaching, which was great. That game. 2-0 we were down, and what happened? Tyndall and Howe, that's it. Me and you are Tyndall and Howe, which for those that don't know football is a reference to the Newcastle United manager and assistant. But yeah, how is football going, and how do you think you're growing into that role? Because am I right in thinking that the season's kind of recently restarted, or it's starting soon?
We've come back into a different semester now. We haven't quite kick-started with our games yet. We're still waiting until the 12th of February. But yeah, I spoke to you earlier in the week, and my confidence just feels like it's growing a lot. To begin with, you know, I've said it before, I felt very confused. I felt imposter syndrome. Didn't have much knowledge at all about coaching other than seeing people coach me. So I knew there was a lot to learn. And to begin with, I was very nervous about that. But as time's gone on, I built connections and relationships with people there. You know, Derek and Stephen, coaches there that helped me out. I've met for coffees with the head of football, Michael, and, you know, I've been learning a lot. And I just found this week, in previous weeks, I felt like I've had to ask to do things like, I don't know, even putting a few sets of cones out. It's like, oh yeah, Stephen, should I put a few cones out? Like, he'll always say yes. But this time I just thought, he was a bit occupied this Tuesday. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to crack on and do it. So just cracked on with it. And I just felt confident in being able to run my own session. You know, I feel like there's certain drills which I'm developing more now as time goes on. And I've just felt that confidence grow in terms of being able to take a session by my own hands and, you know, run things myself. And I do think, and that links onto a point, I do think that comes with building relationships with people. I think I know the players trust me now, and I know the coaches trust me now because I've got that feedback from building connections with them, talking to them, getting to know them. And that links into something I've been thinking about this week. And I think people really make the difference. And this week, going into my new semester, I've started new lectures, met some new lecturers. And, you know, you get some lecturers and you just think, if you spoke with a bit more passion, people would enjoy this lecture a lot more. Because you get other lecturers who, like, it's amazing. Like, the lecturer this week, she was like, oh, it's just extraordinary. It's extraordinary. She was talking about the brain, and you could just tell she loved it. And it just makes you be there more. And, you know, that links onto a shout out I want to make. Shout out to Johnny Day. He listens to the podcast every week on his break at Mackey's. And last year in my flat, I lived with Johnny. I lived with Sid, a lad called Tom, and Jake. And you know what? You see with some people, their flat at uni isn't the best. And, you know, I feel sorry for them. But I was very blessed in terms of my flat. And I just want to emphasize that point of people really make the difference. And I think it's always people over the thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think you shouldn't expect someone to invest in the point you're trying to make or the idea you want to sell them if they're not passionate. You know, you've got to be passionate in order for. I mean, this is for me, and I'm sure the same for you. In order for me to invest in something, that is someone else's passion that I'd maybe like to become mine, they've got to be passionate. They've got to sell it to me. And not every time do they have to go out there and be like, you have to do it because of this. Sometimes naturally, like with football, you've sort of engaged before. You don't need someone to sell it to you. Like you were engaged as a kid, and then over time you've kind of gone, okay, well, I want to learn this about football, and someone teaches you a new thing. So you kind of don't need someone else to ignite that passion. But in order for you to stay engaged and to improve and to learn someone else's sort of viewpoint, you need that passion. So I agree. People do make the difference 100%. Mate, you've got the ideas. I'm liking this. People make the difference. I like it a lot.
What are you passionate about, Jamie? Talking about passion, what's something in your life you're passionate about?
I would say, because I don't want to keep referencing the episode last night, like what was in it, but I want to stay true to what I said still. So obviously at home, I'm passionate about learning new things, especially within football. I think that football for me is just something that I've known since I was a kid. The first person to give me a chance, because football was such a difficult thing for me growing up because I didn't believe in myself. And I don't think anyone else really did, and I can't blame them because I was crap. But like starting at Dunkirk because my dad really wanted me to be good at football. And I just discovered I was rubbish. They didn't play me. They didn't have any faith in me. And they didn't communicate. This is another thing, communication. When things maybe aren't working out so well for someone, like you'll know this in coaching. I'm not going to bring up any specific examples of my coaching, but you will know when there's someone that maybe isn't doing so great and you want to help them. But it's important to communicate that, how you want to help them, or maybe if you can't help them. Which is rare, I think, in coaching, that you can't help someone to some extent.
Oh yeah, you can always help someone for sure.
You can always help someone. But my dad was really keen on me going to Dunkirk. He wanted me to be good at football, and then that didn't work out. And I think he kind of stopped really going to watch my football and stuff. And then I went to Attenborough, and Graham, shout out Graham Me, by the way, G-Man, shout out G-Man.
The G-Man.
he gave me just confidence by telling my mum one day he's got potential to do well. And whether that meant like in Saturday Division 6, I don't really care. Someone put their confidence in me, so my passion was born out of someone else, people making the difference for me. But one thing I'm discovering being out here is being passionate about yourself, and actually I'm going to verge off something I said to you last night where I said, I was really struggling with like careers stuff, like out here, like I'm worried that I'm staying stationary. And you gave the analogy of imagine sitting in a chair for a year. What's going to change? You know what I mean? Like nothing. And I think that was actually on the post chat from the podcast. But, just that sort of realization came to me today when I was going shopping, and then after that we went to go and watch my mum's friends' boys playing futsal, and I've never watched futsal before live. I know that you played it, right? You played?
Yeah, I used to play futsal for Uni of Nottingham.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's an amazing sport. I've done basic study into it, and I did it as part of my scouting course. I learned about it, and it's quite deeply rooted into sort of South American culture. It's why they're so good with the ball in really tight spaces. But anyway, I was doing that, and the coach of one of the my mum's friends' kids' teams came over to me and was like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "From Nottingham," and he's like, "Oh, my whole family's from Beeston."
That's crazy.
Like,
That's crazy. It's a small world. It's such a small world. You're all out in Aussie, and people from Beeston are there.
Yeah, we're in Brunswick, right? Oh well, we're in Byron Bay, Australia, which is like so far east, and 10,000 miles away. And this guy's like, "Oh, my family are from Beeston, Nottingham. Nice one. Do you want to come and sit on the coach's chair with me and we'll just talk tactics?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he had this little like tactics board, and we were talking about it, and I was thinking, I was so scared that everything good that I've got at home, I won't have it here for a year, and I'll lose this sort of momentum that I'm on. But I'm gonna verge off what I said yesterday, where I was, "Oh, have I got you back?" You went a sec. Have I got you?
I'm all here.
Are you all it? Sorry, that was my Wi-Fi. I feel truly now that tonight, when that happened with me sitting with the coach, I thought, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna be fine. I'm nervous. That things weren't going to work out, and that I wouldn't get a job here. I wouldn't be able to carry on my coaching and stuff. But honestly, bro, I feel way, way, way more relieved, and I'm still anxious. I said to you today, like when we came off the post podcast chat yesterday, that I was feeling a bit upset because I'm going to miss this, and I also miss you now. You know what I mean? And I miss home. But today has calmed me down and comforted me a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Jamie said to me, he said, I'm worried about going to Australia for the whole year because right now it's almost like you're having a taster. And he said he's worried about, being away from home and being away from his passion projects, like he spoke about, his commentary and, the things he wants to crack on with. And I said to Jamie, I said, if you sat in a chair for a whole year, what would change? And you gave me a little look. You're trying to think of something and you went nothing. And it's true. We get very caught up in feeling like we need more. And if you did just do nothing for a bit, nothing would change. And I know you're like me and you're a very on the go person, want to be on the move. And it almost feels like a missed opportunity if you're not doing something right now. So I can completely understand if you went to Australia for a year, it's like it's taking you away from the thing you want to do, your passion project, what you want to pursue. But going to Australia, you can treat Australia like that chair, and Australia is more than just a chair. You're going to be able to go to Australia and you're going to have one of the best years of your life, and you're going to be able to add a different element to your passion projects. And, that's the beauty of it. I think I get caught up in things sometimes, and I've spoken about before about slowing things down to speed things up, but not everything has to be done right now. We do have time on our side, and I know we have a short lifespan, but not everything is 100 miles per hour. I just want to talk about a bit of a different topic in the way that I started my week this week. I started a bit lower this week, to admit. I feel like there wasn't a particular reason, but I just felt a bit lower. I wasn't the usual buzzing Dan, sort of kicking about with life. And I did have something on my mind, and it was something I wanted to bring up with my girlfriend. I wanted to talk to her about something. And I almost felt like I had to keep it within me. It felt a bit trapped. And something I just want to say to anyone listening today is if you're feeling something and it's bugging you, talk to someone, talk to your support system. It's important to think about how you say it because you may have something that's been on your mind. And if you just say it, you might offend someone. So think about how you're going to say it. But I don't think I've ever had a time where something's been on my mind and I've gone and spoken to someone I trust about it and I've not felt a massive sense of relief. So if you are someone who's been feeling a bit low, you're starting this week. I know this episode comes out on a Tuesday, but that's towards the beginning of the week and you've been feeling a bit low, or just at any time in your life, talk to your support system, your parents, people you trust, your friends, your partners, anyone around you who you feel like you can open up to. And also, if you're feeling low and things are a bit stressful and you've got a lot on, just spend a moment to think about what you're grateful for, because I always find that can help. If I think about something like, I don't know, my parents or my friendship with you or friendship with someone else, or my girlfriend, just something nice, a little boost in my day. Something on more of a brighter side. I got my uni results back. On my sports psychology essay, I got my first. I got 75 out of 100. So I was proud of that. I got my lab report back, got a 2-1. So very happy with that. And we spoke about switching off last week. This week I've been switching off by watching the UK Office. I know you've said that you prefer the US version, but you watched that before the UK one. So I need to watch the US one to see what I really think. But I've really been switching off by watching the UK Office. But something to ask you, what's been something funny that's happened with you this week? Maybe a story out in Aussie, something which kind of blew your mind a little bit. What's something that's happened to you this week that you just thought, what, that was pretty class?
I mean, I learned fishing this week, which is such a weird thing. I've always been someone that has said, how on earth can people spend so much time fishing? But I get it now. We were on a houseboat and we did a 4-hour trip up to the Noosa River. And the first day we spent there, the boys, my mum's mates' kids taught me how to fish. And I caught 2 fish. One of them I killed and ate, which was like a weird experience because this isn't really a podcast, I think, where we discuss primitive instincts, but we are so desensitized to what you eat on your plate and how it gets there. So for me, that was an experience I think I needed to have. And also just catching it anyway. It was a nice bream. It was a lovely, lovely bream. Cooked it with lemon and garlic. It was beautiful on the barbie. And then the next day, a little bit more fishing, got a bit sunburnt. And then the next day we got caught on a sandbank, which wasn't fun. We were passing through where Richard Branson has a little island on the Noosa River, and we were so in awe that we didn't realise that we were in water that was about 3 foot deep. So this massive houseboat was stuck in the sand, but luckily we got it out and it was fine. But my funny story comes on the second to last day, the last night. I was, done a bit of fishing in the day, but my back was really burnt, and I was thinking I'll only fish at night, really. But I gave up. I was like, I'm going for a shower. Came out the shower, brushing my teeth. I've got the towel around me, right? And one of the boys knocks on the door. You've got to come out. You've got to come out. Your rod's on, which means obviously something's biting on it. And I was like, right, okay. I'm not coming out. I'm brushing my teeth. Go away. Do you know? Just leave me alone. And they keep saying it. I'm like, no. And then their mum says, come on, Jay, you've got to go out. And I'm like, I'm brushing my teeth. I just got out of the shower. So I'm in my towel. I've got my toothbrush in my mouth. And I pick up this rod. And I'm fighting this fish. And this fish, I had no idea what it was, but it was big. And I'm thinking, just for ego's sake, please don't not be strong enough now to pick this fish out of the water, because these lads do this all the time. And they're like 13, 14. Well, anyway, I fish it out, and it's this fish called a muller whale. It's known as a jewie here.
Jewie?
And a jewie, yeah, proper jewie. And it's big. It's a big old fish. And I still had the toothbrush in my mouth while I'm holding this fish for a photo. And yeah, if I can get some little sensor things out, I'll show it, because I've got my nipple in the photo. But yeah, just brushing my teeth, catching a fish was something new for me. So
Did you catch a shark as well, or what did you say?
We caught it's like an animal which is a mix between a shark and a ray. It's called a shovel nose. Search them up; they're proper weird. Some like prehistoric sort of dinosaur stuff. But yeah, catching a fish while in your towel, naked, brushing your teeth. Yeah, that's something I'll never ever do again. I don't think. You wouldn't see me doing that down the canal in Beeston.
Oh, blubber! Like, I hope not. You get arrested.
Yeah, I would. Can I just clarify? There was a towel around me, so I'm not just exposing myself while going fishing. But Dan, I'll flip the question over to you, and I can't imagine it will be similar. And if it is, then maybe we need to have a chat. But
yeah, it's not going to be similar to that. But something that was funny that happened in my week was, so my granddad came and we had some food with my girlfriend, and I knew that a few of my mates are out in a very student-y street. They're at a bar, and so I said to Grandad, "You want to go for a few drinks with them?" And he was all keen for it. He's been telling me he wants to go on a night out in Newcastle with me. He wasn't quite to that extent, but went to the pub, and we go there, and it's rammed with students, and it's just me, my girlfriend, and my granddad. And it was just amazing, my granddad being around all those students. And he went to the toilet, and I said to Scarlett, I said, I think he's probably going to go home now. I think he's had enough. I reckon he'll come back and say, look, Dan, I'm going to go home, but nice seeing you. This was nice. He comes back with more drinks. It was amazing. I'm grateful for that, just being able to have my granddad around here, and I can go to a student bar with him. And it was amazing. Like, that was a funny thing that happened in my week, aside from watching UK Office. But linking on to what Jamie said there, with fishing, and he said, he didn't want to go out initially when he was brushing his teeth. And, you've been trying things out in Australia. You've been exploring the world. And it links to you saying you were worried about going out there for a whole year. But it's a bit scary sometimes when you try new things. But another thing, if we can say to the listeners today, is try things. A lot of people, I feel, especially around the younger age, or maybe you're older and you're still trying to search for something. A lot of people are searching for something. I find maybe there's a lot of times in life where people feel like there's something that still isn't quite there yet for them. Maybe there's something they desire, something they want, something which isn't quite clicking with them yet. But realistically, you're not going to try that if you're not trying things in life. You've got to give life a go. Some things you may see them, you go, you know what? I don't know if I fancy that. But who's to say you won't? Can you think of a time in your life, or like an example where there was something which to begin with you were like, you know what, that's not a bit of me, but now all of a sudden you love to do it?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Yeah, give some thinking time on it.
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think probably like the stuff I do for work in terms of the football stuff. Because I was going to say no, I don't want to do the commentary when I first got offered it because it wasn't my thing. Like that speaking and obviously, doing the podcast and stuff. I've always been good speaking to people, but I was sort of never sure that I'd be comfortable doing it to the extent I've done it now. But I suppose in a way I've always wanted to. In a way, it's that. But fishing for me was the one because I was always a bit like, why would you do it? Like I've always thought you're just sitting there with a line out and it's boring. And I'm not saying I'm not advocating to anyone to drink at 9 a.m. because it's very early. But I just brushed my teeth on like the second day, and there was some Cooper's Pale Ale or whatever it is in the fridge, and you could see the condensation on it. I thought, I'm getting a beer. Crack open a beer, cut up a fish, put your bait on the rod, and cast it out. And I thought, you know what? I've always said how boring this is, but this is, in a way, even though it's such a weird sort of jump, it's like people making that prejudgment about something before they've done it. It's like, when someone says to me, I hate that person. How can you hate someone
It's a
if you
strong
don't?
word. Yeah.
It's a strong word that I don't think you can really use. There's very few people in my life I can say, I hate you flat out. And most of them, I would say it is from various personal circumstance. And if not, they're just someone in history that we all pretty much hate. But at the same time, it's like, when there's a new activity, like you've said, just do life, live life, and enjoy
Live,
it as
laugh,
well.
love.
Yeah, come on, you're not doing that. That's something your auntie puts up in the living room, isn't it? But like, I think another thing is like, try not to prejudge things you haven't done before, because that's
100%.
exactly what I'm guilty of on so many occasions. And I'm only saying that not because I'm really experienced in life and I know everything, but because could you imagine if I went into this weekend or last week and went, I'm not fishing, looks boring, I'm not arsed. I would that funny story wouldn't have come. I wouldn't have had as much of a good time. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, as soon as someone says to me, what do you think about this activity? Bar jumping and swimming in that water, because I'm not doing that. I'm not swimming with sharks. That's
Yeah,
off
that's
boundaries.
crazy though. That's crazy.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. You shouldn't prejudge something before
Yeah,
you've tried.
completely. And it's really important, and we all do it. I think a big one which you mentioned was prejudging people. I've had plenty of people in my life who, just off like seeing them maybe a few times, I've gone, you know what, I don't know if he'll be my cup of tea or she'll be my cup of tea. And you get talking to someone and you're like, you know what, you're actually a really cool person.
Is
I
that
think it's
us
so.
then? Is that me and you? Is that how we
I
work?
actually, you know what? That's actually really funny you said that, because I would not be surprised. Because I came into working at the Vic, and obviously I knew you were working there. But to begin with, we weren't close. We got along. We could chat about football. We could chat about things. But maybe I could say I went into the Vic not expecting to be creating the Making It podcast with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you could agree with the same thing. And the way our friendships flourished, yeah, completely. And that's a great example of it. I think it's so easy to prejudge people. You might have heard something about them. You might have judged something they wear or one little thing they've done. But get to know someone before you judge them. It's really important, and get to know something before you do it. So you can really give an actual judgment rather than a prejudgment. And that goes to what I was saying last week about your friendships. I was talking about how, you can disagree with your friends. And my mum said it's called an echo chamber, where you can surround yourself by things that you believe in or other people believe in. Maybe you surround yourself by yes men or yes women, and you're constantly surrounded by an idea which you believe in, but that's the only thing you're surrounded by. And that links into exploring and trying different things. You have to give other things a go. You can't shut things off. Maybe someone might say something a bit outrageous and you've got to be like, listen, look, you can't be saying something like that. But if someone is disagreeing with you or has a different viewpoint, learn that viewpoint, because you've got to develop as a person. by not having that prejudgment, as you say. Something else that happened this week for me. So I've been doing a month of no drink with my girlfriend, just mid-Jan to mid-Feb, just to see what it's like. She thought I might not be able to do it just because sometimes a lot of the things I do, sometimes I might have a drink in hand or like a social event. And we went to a party on Saturday and we didn't drink it. You know what? I still had a decent time. But it links onto a topic which I think about quite a lot. And I have been debating a little bit, do I go into full sobriety? Because it's so interesting. I think everyone can agree there's definitely a social stigma, especially with uni students, and certain times where people need a drink to be able to socialize. And there are times I do believe where a drink isn't needed and it would be more beneficial if a drink wasn't involved. And listen, we've had great nights out. We've had great times where we've been out and, we've been fine on the drink. We've been controlled and it's been a great time. I don't know if I'd ever go fully sober, but I think I've definitely learned a lot more self-control with it. But it goes to that idea of being young. And sometimes you hear some people and they say, oh, like I'm young, it's fine. Like I can drink a lot, I can smoke a lot, I can do all this stuff. And it's fine because I'm young. I've got plenty of my life to go. And sometimes I think to myself, yes, okay, I've got a lot of my life to go. If I went out tonight and got slashed and I woke up the next morning hanging, it's not going to majorly affect my life. But because I've got so much of my life to go, why would I not want as much of that as possible to be as fulfilling as possible? And if there are moments where I've had a drink and the next morning I regret it, which there's nothing wrong with that, it's fine sometimes. But if that's a constant thing, I think it's something I'm learning a lot. I don't know if you've ever thought about that idea of, it almost feels like you've got that freedom when you're young because there's so much time to go in your life. But why not make as much of that time left the best it can possibly be? And I want to spend as little time as possible doing things just because I feel like I have to or I need to. And I think sometimes having a drink can be one of those sort of situations. Have you ever thought about that? Do you ever think sometimes I didn't need a drink then? Or do you get where I'm coming from a little bit?
100%. I would say 95% of the time I have a drink, I don't. Well, 100% of the time I have a drink, I don't need a drink. Do you know? 100% every time I do anything, I don't need a drink. It's a want. And when you talk about, you want that kind of quality of life in a way to be better. And from that, I can sort of take away the fact that you are more productive. I've got no stats to back up me saying this, but I can guarantee you'll be 400% more productive when you've not had a drink the night before. I can guarantee it. And don't get me wrong, there's a weird thing with me when I'm hungover, I'm sort of weirdly productive. But that's not that's just adrenaline keeping me going. But and probably the espresso as well in the morning. But,
oh my god!
Wow! Oh wow! That's my reaction to having one. Oh wow! But I don't need to drink a beer. I drink a beer because it's a social thing. I didn't like beer up until October 20, literally after my uncle's funeral was when I first had a beer, when I had my Guinness for the first time. And look, I like the taste of it. Do you know, I like a beer. So when I was fishing, I literally could have just drank water and fished and I would have had a great time. But there was something about cracking open a beer and fishing. I was like, I just want to do it. You want to do it. So when we go back to that quality of life thing, it's like, well, my only argument would be, we are put on this earth for limited time, and money isn't a natural thing to us, but seeking pleasure from almost non-natural sources such as beer, or even in prehistoric time, or not prehistoric, but sort of primitive times, we would, drugs that exist now existed then, and we would ingest them because we wanted to get high or to feel a sensation. Well, I'd argue that is just that, but modernized. And as humans, we want to seek a sensation that takes you away from the daily scavenging and hunting and gathering, or in our case, the 9 to 5. And we just want to go, hey, let's just go back and just relax and do whatever we want. And we know it's not necessarily healthy, but I agree 100%. I do want to be more productive. I want to be a better person, because drinking, I don't think, makes you a very good person. And I do think it ruins a lot of people's lives when it isn't kept at bay. But at the same time, I do think that there's an element of it where you go, you've only got one life to live. So, if you invite me to Rock City one night, Dan, which I don't think you're going to do for a while, you're going to do it at least once before I go away. But, if you invite me to go on a night out, I'm probably not going to say no, because I know that you are only going to get a certain amount of times that you can do this. So full sobriety hasn't crossed my mind really. I think the only reason it would is for health reasons. And if that was the case, I wouldn't hesitate to do it. But sobriety, like many things in life, is something that can be done 100%. I don't drink every day at all. I went before coming here. I've probably drank maybe at the weekend, and that was it, and maybe one after work here and there, quite rarely. But I managed to get really good control on it, whereas because I've been here, it's like, I'll have a beer with dinner. Do you know what I mean? Or, but I don't.
When the sun's out in Australia, for sure, it's tempting.
But then I don't. Do you know, like the feeling of when people go, God, I finished work, right down the pub, I need a beer. I've never had that feeling. I've not had that sort of. Oh God, I'm depending on it today. But yeah, I suppose that people have different personalities, and this is obviously what you are more tuned up in terms of people's psychology. But people have more of an addictive personality or whatever. But yeah, I think to answer your question in a very long-winded way, sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there. I think I could definitely, I can definitely vouch for the fact that drinking is something that people always do.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to shout out our socials as well. We've got a TikTok, an Instagram, a YouTube, and you can find our podcast on Spotify as well. And that links to our interactional question this week. What is your favorite hobby, Jamie?
I'm gonna stick to what I said yesterday because I want to keep it authentic, because that is what we are. I'm gonna go table tennis. I love table tennis.
I've never seen you play it, but
I can't believe you've never seen me playing it.
No, I've never seen you play table tennis. It's like when you said the other week, I love fish. I was like, I've never even heard that before. Learning new things about you.
Wow, bro. Yeah. What about you, Dan? What's your hobby?
I would say right now, I like going for a coffee. I know you question whether that's a hobby or not, but we were talking about prejudgment. To begin with, I was always against coffee. Then I met my girlfriend, I got into it, and now I love going for a social coffee. I class that as a hobby, I think anything can be a hobby in its own right. And linking on to our interactional questions, I think if anyone does find us on social media, you can have a feature in the podcast by if you email us your responses, if you DM us your responses, comment your responses, we will shout it out on the podcast. So, and please do share our stuff as well. I think Jamie's been a big advocate for that. But yeah, I think it's amazing to hear the things that are cracking off in Australia. And I think when you're out there, Jamie, make sure you're grateful for it, which I'm sure you are, and rein it in, make the most of it. And we spoke about it yesterday. You didn't do that challenge I set you last week to ask someone about the struggle. So if you can, by the end of next week, ask a local what they think about the struggles in Australia, because to you it's paradise right now.
And I do want to also maybe get some, I'm going to try my best to get a sort of mini vlog of where I am and just something as well for you guys to have a look at. But Dan, I've kind of got a bit of a funny question related to your coffee hobby. Now, I've always taken the mick out of Dan a little bit for what coffee he chooses to drink, because he gets his ice frappuccino or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. What is it you get?
Sometimes I get an iced latte, but right now it's just been a normal latte.
Is iced latte a proper coffee?
Of course it is. It's got coffee in it. Of course it is. I got into that because Scarlett loves to drink it, but yeah, of course it is. It's part of the menu. It's a proper coffee. I know you like your proper hardcore coffee, Americano, espresso. I know you love that. Okay, he's reeling me in. But I love a latte, and especially when it's hotter weather, I love a nice latte with a bit of vanilla syrup as well. That's the go-to.
Jeez, I feel like a Roy Keane in this moment in time. But anyway, I think it's been a really good week, bro. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling really good. I'm glad that you're smashing it, man. And obviously, with your university stuff, bro, I think you're going to go far, man. I know that
Thank you,
Man
bro.
City
You too,
probably
man.
needs you right now. Man City needs you right now, but do we care about them? Personally, no. 7-0, by the way. Can I
Yeah,
just say?
shout out the Forest score, 7-0. Absolutely buzzing with that. We both
There
are.
was no way I was ending
Unbelievable.
this podcast. We felt we didn't even mention it, did we, in yesterday's podcast? So I'm glad.
Well, it's a good job. It's a good job we lost it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm grateful for the power cut. Some bloke decided to
Everything
drive
happens for a
into a
reason.
power line. Yeah, it's mental. Anyway, thank you for listening. Again, just shout out the socials at Making It Poddy on all your social media and makingitpoddy@gmail.com on email. If you want to drop us an email or you want to contact us on socials, we'll be happy to get your feedback and also any answers or questions you've got. We'll shout them out, as Dan said. But until then, keep an eye on our social media. We'll be doing a couple of little mini vlogs. The interactional question will be out on Saturday, so keep your eyes on for that. And of course, episode every Tuesday at 10 a.m. So keep your eyes peeled. It's going to be an exciting week. Hopefully, some more funny stories that aren't risking public indecency, of course. Luckily, we were in the wilderness, so it's fine. But anyway, have a great week, Dan. Love talking to you again, my friend. And we'll see you all on Tuesday. Take care. See you soon.
Take care, people.
See you on Tuesday in a bit. Feel so right.